So what would your single biggest piece of advice be for someone?
Well, I like to, I hit my kids with this, and my teacher, Mr. Ron Woods, he passed way back, probably about 15 years ago, but he always hit all of us with this. He had two things on his wall, and I never forget, and I keep it in my daily life. And people who know him know what I'm about to say. On his wall, it was a lady in tears, and we really didn't know what it was. And he always explained it to us. He said, "I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet." And that essentially means be thankful for what you have, because it could be worse. So that's motivation by itself. And the other one was, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I hit my daughter with that all the time. And she understands that if I think I'm great, I'm great. If I think I'm not, I'm not. So I'd rather take the positive versus the negative. I know I'm great. So be great today.
This is Country Club Conversations. I'm Raj Tut, founder and CEO of Storyboard Living. This show gives you actionable insights from the hard-to-reach top percentile in business and entrepreneurship. I think everyone deserves this type of access, and I'm bringing it to you. Welcome to the club. Dana, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You're a successful athlete and entrepreneur, so I wanted to have this conversation because it's very rare for someone to be elite in two things in their life. And you're relatively young, so for you to achieve both of those things at your age, I think it is very unique. You have a successful construction and trucking company, but prior to that, you played football.
Correct.
Before you even picked up a football, what was your life like?
I guess normal from what I know. I mean, I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois, and all my life, all I've ever done was be a student athlete and a student first. But I've always been an athlete, so I've always been an elite athlete at the highest level, I would think. And I've just been a cool guy. I mean, friendly, cool guy. I mean, I just always thought of myself as just a down-to-earth person, a humble person.
One thing I really find interesting about you is you grew up in East St. Louis at a time when it was potentially one of the more dangerous cities in America. Is that accurate?
Right. Still is.
Right. Still is. And you were able to focus on sports, school, and of course now business, but as a kid, sports and school. What do you think allowed you to have that focus? Was it your house growing up, your parents, maybe just the people you met along the way, your coaches?
Yeah, I think a collaboration of all. You can't grow up in the inner city community and not have, people around you who tell you what you want to hear and not tell you what you need to hear. Meaning the parents, the neighborhood, the neighborhood looked out for you. The neighborhood raised you. The women, the men, even the guys on the street who were drug dealers, they looked out for you. And when I say that, they knew that guys like me had potential to do other things than sell drugs, gang bang, things of that nature. So those guys, although to the outside world looked like they were, the worst people in the world, they inside of my world, they were guys who looked out for people such as myself. And said, "Hey, man, you can do better than what I'm doing." And the elderly folk in the neighborhood, they made sure that, if they saw you doing something wrong, they checked you on it. It wasn't where people turned a blind eye and said, "Oh, well, just another little bad kid. We're going to let him do what he do, call the police on him." They were more so trying to make sure that guys like myself succeeded. And whatever success looked like to them, that's what it was.
So in your opinion, that sort of mentorship from older folks, from other older guys, whatever the case is important in environment for someone to grow up and be successful.
Any environment. I mean, it takes a village, to raise, the whole adage, it takes a village. It took a village. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was a lot of guys before me that were like me and a lot of guys after me who are going to be like me. And it's still going to take a village for them as well. I just feel like, if I can make it out of East St. Louis, I can make it anywhere. That's just my mentality on East St. Louis. You know, it's one, like you said, it's one of the roughest places in America. So if I can make it out of there, I'm good anywhere.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of that translated like to your confidence in other areas of your life. When you were playing football, I read somewhere that you were cut from your, I think, middle school team.
Right.
But when did you start playing and when did you know you were good?
Well, I just started playing in the neighborhood with the guys, and I was one of the youngest. My brother was older; he's 5 years older than I am. He's way better than I was, and when I was in 7th grade in junior high school, because in East St. Louis, elementary school started from 1st through the 6th, and junior high school started 7th through the 9th. So we didn't really, high school started 10th, 11th, 12th. So I went out for the junior high school team, kind of a little smaller, and I got releases in the NFL. I got cut, basically, from my junior high school football team. And so I went home, told my dad. He had my brother walk me back up there, and the coach figured out that I was Big Jeff's little brother, and from there it was all good. I mean, needless to say, I made the team, and the rest is pretty much history, as they say. So that's when I realized, I got to step my game up. So I stepped my game up. From there, did well in junior high school, went to high school, started after the first game as a sophomore, because sophomore, junior, senior in high school around here. And from there, just started getting accolades as far as, people in, with the newspapers, talking about me, saying how good they thought I was. And then all of a sudden I started getting national recognition as one of the top guys in the state, one of the top linebackers in the country. So needless to say, I made all these sports newspapers or magazines, and I think it's called Athlons back in the day, but they had me like one of the top 5 linebackers in the country and one of the top 10 players in the Midwest. So long story short, a lot of scholarship offers from a lot of schools. And my brother went to the University of Miami at the time when they were really good. And he unfortunately did some things with some other players down there, got kicked out, came back home. And because I thought I was going to the University of Miami because my brother would have been a senior or junior, or if he had left early. Either way, he went to the University of Miami. So that's why I thought I was going. Needless to say, my mom was like, nope, you stand close. He went far, you stand close. So it was like, I don't know if you've ever seen Risky Business where Tom Cruise slides across the floor.
I haven't, no.
Okay, you'll check
I'll check it out. Yeah.
So he slides across the floor and then says, well, I guess the University of Illinois for me. So that's what it was. So what I will say is it was I think the University of Illinois was the best choice that I've ever made in my life because it gave me an opportunity to understand how people who are like you help you, meaning, the alumni base is so large and so huge. And I mean, I think we're like 2 or 3 in the country as far as alumni bases. And the alumni base has helped me tremendously to be able to do things that I never thought I could do. I'm not saying that I didn't think, I just didn't, I was never put into position to believe that I could do the things that I'm doing, or what I should say. So it just gave me that opportunity to do things and to meet people and to understand that, there are people out here who will help you to get better. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned University of Miami. Is that in Ohio or Florida?
No, Hurricanes in Florida.
Okay.
University of Miami in Florida.
Because I think there's some sort of school in Ohio that's
Miami of Ohio. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that one always confuses me.
Right. That's all right. So yes, the U.S. the guys call it. So
okay.
My brother went to University of Miami and played for Jimmy Johnson and along with those guys. So he played in front behind Jerome Brown, but in front of Russell Maryland. So when I got drafted by the Cowboys, Michael Irvin and a couple other guys who went to University of Miami knew me because they knew I was Jeff's little brother. So again, from 7th grade being Jeff's little brother, getting on the team, to now playing in the NFL, and knowing guys who know that I'm Jeff's little brother once again. So at the lowest of levels to the highest of levels, I was still Jeff's little brother. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
And your brother, did he follow your career when you were in the NFL? Like, was he playing as in pro sports at all at that time?
No. He, he hurt his knee after he left Miami. Things happened. Then he kind of, football was kind of out of his life. He just got a job, and he's just around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, to answer your question, yes, he followed my career, and like any brother, he would, tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Right. Yeah, which I'm sure you appreciated.
Yeah, no doubt. So, this is what family's supposed to do. They're not supposed to tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to hear.
Right. Yeah. The hard truth.
That's right. The hard truth.
So for yourself, you mentioned playing early on and then eventually getting the accolades from publications,
right.
Becoming known as, was it the 5th best in the country at one point in your age and position?
It's kind of like the 5th. I mean, it was so many publications. I mean, you can read this one and believe this, you can read that one and believe that. So it's
a little subjective.
Yeah, it depends on who you are, what state you're from and who you like. So all I know is they had me as one of the top kids in the nation. So I'll go with that.
But from going, from being the kid that started playing with some friends to being one of the top kids in the nation, what do you think it took for you to get there? Was it waking up early, putting in the work with the coaches or just on your own? Or how do you think you got there? Or was it natural ability?
Well, I think all of it. I mean, natural ability, definitely, because, a lot of things that we do or I did, it takes, definitely some different type of ability. But to answer your question, yes, on, putting in extra work, doing extra things, understanding the game, but always trying to get better. I mean, my coach used to say, either you're getting better or you're getting worse. So that getting better or getting worse, you never stay the same. So, I mean, I believe that. I eat that, knowing that, if I'm doing something, I'm getting better. If I'm sitting there just being lazy, I'm not getting better. So I try to instill that in my kids that, hey, let's do something. Let's go hit. Let's go catch. Let's do something. I mean, you got to do something. It's not going to be osmosis. You're not going to hit by osmosis. You got to go out there and hit the ball. You're not going to catch by osmosis. You got to go make some throws, make some catches. So, life and sports imitate one another. They kind of co-mingle. Well, not kind of. They co-mingle for me because it teaches you how to work well with others, and life teaches you that. Sports teaches you that, as well as my word is aggressive. Being aggressive in everything you do, not meaning like I want to beat you up aggressive, but just just go hard with whatever you do. So that's how I kind of look at both of them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think the being aggressive is so important when it comes to just taking control of your life and wanting to pursue whatever you're going to pursue. One question I was actually going to ask you, which you kind of alluded to already, is how important are sports for kids? Like your kids are in sports. My kids at some point will be in sports. You've obviously been through it at a very high level.
Right.
In terms of, even if you don't want to be a pro football player or anything else, or even if you're not aiming for a scholarship, you have the leadership. What are some of the other qualities that are, parallel to the business world or anything else?
Well, the aggressive nature of going after what you want in life. I mean, you could be passive or a passive type of person, just sit back and let things come to you, or you can be an aggressive person and go after what you want. I mean, that's just how I go about my business and go about raising my kids. It's about get what you want. Essentially, as they say in the hood, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So if your mouth is closed, you ain't eating. But if you speak up for yourself, somebody's gonna make sure you eat because you're the squeaky wheel that's getting the grease. You know what I'm saying? So that for me is how I live. I'm speaking up for myself. I make sure my kids speak up for themselves. Don't sit back and be the passive person. Now there are times when talking too much can kind of get you in a position you don't want to be in. But in a daily life situation, if you want something out of life, you gotta go get it. It ain't coming to you. Not saying take it, but you got to be aggressive about how you go about doing what you do.
What
Makes sense.
about the discipline and like the structure that comes from practices? Do you think that translates well into life?
Well, again, I mean, all of pretty much in any attribute of sports, I know does complement life. I mean, life and the way you live. I mean, like you said, just having a regimen. Writing things down, remembering that it's repetition. Because you don't become a great receiver without catching thousands and thousands and almost millions of passes. You don't become a great hitter without hitting hundreds of thousands of balls. You don't become a great shooter without shooting hundreds of thousands of shots. So, in life, you have to do things so many times in order to be the best at what you want to be. If you want to be an attorney, you have to study and understand what you're going to get on the boards to be able to pass the bar exam. So, it's all commingles to me that life and sports, come hand in hand. And once, realize that, because everybody's not going to make the NFL, the NBA, MLB. But, I mean, it helps you mentally to be the MLB person in the workplace, that mentality, the best at what you want to be in the workplace, the NFL mentality, all that puts everything together and makes you a better human, a better person, to me.
Yeah, I love it. I 100% agree.
Right.
Going back to when your mom told you you're going to Illinois, that's Urbana-Champaign, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So she tells you you're going there. When you went there, what were some of the thoughts or feelings that were in your head initially? Was that your first time leaving your hometown or being away from family, or were you?
Okay. No. It was. Recruiting trips. I took you get 5 recruiting trips. So I went to the University of Illinois. I believe was my last recruiting trip. The first one was the University of Iowa. I mean, it was cool because we had a guy that played with us. He was 2 years older than me. So I went there on a recruiting trip. It was okay. I mean, nothing against Iowa. I'm just, it wasn't for me. From there, I went to the University of Michigan. Liked it. I mean, because Michigan has always been Michigan. So that was an option. That was on the board. Then I went to Arizona State. Had never been to Arizona a day in my life, but I figured, hey, they want to fly me out here. Let's go to Arizona and just hang out. I'd never been to Arizona, so that's the only reason really I went. I wasn't going to school. It was just a free trip for me. So I enjoyed it, though. It was nice. It was really nice in Arizona, but it wasn't for me. And that was 3. 4 was University of Oklahoma. It was Oklahoma was different. It was really cool because it was like kind of like a movie. It was like, everything that they said in the movie about college and how they get the recruits, it was all that. They almost had me. I ain't gonna lie to you. And my mom was like, she was like, what'd you think? I said, it was a great time. She was like, okay. So what's your thoughts? I said, I might commit. She was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. I was like, okay. So then it was the University of Illinois, last trip. And it was okay. It was okay, but I mean, it was nothing spectacular. And maybe that's why I needed to go there, because it wasn't nothing spectacular. There was nothing that that was going to get me in any type of situation. But I mean, it was a great education, which I wasn't at 18 years old. Who's really thinking about education? You're thinking about girls and money. And so it was just like, okay. And so it was University of Illinois because my mom said that's where I was going. And needless to say, I'm so happy that I went to University of Illinois because I don't know where I would have been at these other schools. At U of I, I had everything I needed academically. I had the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, which was play football. And fortunately for me, I was able to go to grad school. And hey, rest is history. So I wouldn't have it any other way if I had to do this all over again.
It sounds like you're alluding to what my impression is of like the student athlete life in the US and in college. So I'm initially from Canada,
Okay.
which I think college sports aren't a huge thing there.
Right.
But I feel like in the US, if you're a college athlete, you have a tremendous, 3-4 years or however long you're in school. You have a lot of fun. You play hard, just in general. So are there a lot of, I guess, people that fall off maybe they stop focusing on the sport or the reason why they're at the school? And is that why you're kind of alluding to why Illinois was better for you versus some of the other places like Oklahoma?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, you know, I can't say anything bad about any of the schools I didn't go to, but yeah, I mean, it's similar that some guys get in a bad situation at schools, and you know, then they get to a point where they don't want to do it anymore because the coaching staff, for some reason, didn't like them, or they did something bad, and the coaches they've been in the coach's doghouse for the longest. Which now, for that question, turns to another reason why I like the transfer portal because in college sports, because for that reason, some guys who wouldn't have made it at a particular college would have now had opportunity to go somewhere else and stand out, and like they do now. Like, for instance, Deion Sanders and the guys at Colorado. These kids didn't, for some reason, didn't fare well at their schools that they were at, and now they've come into a different situation and put themselves in a situation where they have opportunity to succeed because the coach they're not in the coach's dog houses. They don't fit the defense or offense of that school because for some reason they're not their guy. So, but to answer your question, yes, it was just a great environment for me.
And you had a great, was it full 4 years that you played there?
I played 4 years, but I redshirted my first year, which means, you know, I set out and kind of got the opportunity to understand what I was doing as a student athlete. It truly gave me an opportunity to become a better student and athlete because as an 18-year-old going into college, you're playing 18 to 22-year-old young men. And, you know, I wasn't fully developed. You know, I needed to be stronger. I needed to be faster. I needed to lose weight. I needed to understand what we were doing defensively. And it took me a year to actually get that all under my belt. So for me, redshirting was the best thing. Nowadays, kids want to come in. I want to play right now. Well, that's cool, but you're wasting a year. Why waste a year when you can understand school, get better, not only academically, but athletically? And still, I mean, you got an opportunity to do what you need to do. So, I mean, you know, as you know, things have changed. I'm 51 now. So that was 32, 33 years ago. So life has definitely changed.
Sure. Yeah. And we can maybe get into some of those changes in a bit. The redshirting, though, was that a disappointment for you when you first heard?
Oh, yeah.
Or was that expected?
Well, you know, they told me I was going redshirt, but, you know, I'm a guy who wants to compete. So, you know, I know I can play. I knew I could play. And so every day, well, to answer your question, they told me I would, but I hated it because, you know, they basically put you on the practice team, which is like the scrub team, but it's not the scrub team. It's just for guys who they feel like, you know, we're gonna hold these guys out and let them develop. But at the same time, for me, there was a guy in front of me who was going to the NFL, so I wasn't about to beat him out. So I mean, I thought I could, but you know, the coaches felt like, well, let's just let him keep doing what he's doing, and you got next. So when it was my time, I had next, and I stepped up and took care of what I had to take care of. And then there was a guy after me who had next, and so on and so forth.
And was that kind of fuel or motivation for you to work even harder when you were redshirting?
Oh yeah. Because you know, I hated it. I hate being, you know, I hated being looked at as a scrub, which no one looked at me that way, but that's just how I felt. So it gave me motivation every day to go out and practice and try to, you know, show everything I had. And so I would get kicked out of practice all the time for fighting. Because you know, the older guys would tell me, "Well, you're supposed to be a blocking dummy." No, I'm not that. I'm not here to be your dummy. I'm here to play ball. So you know, I would always get kicked out of practice because I would get in fights with guys. So,
but not. I would imagine not very serious fights. Otherwise, someone would get kicked off the team if they were seriously brawling.
Well, you know, a brawl, but not a brawl. You know, at practice, it's grabbing helmets, pushing each other, punching a little bit, and hey, break it up. And, hey, you go down there and you go there and sit down. So one of those things to where it's not really you're not really punching each other because you're breaking hitting helmets, but you know, somebody treating you as you're less than because they feel like you're a freshman and you're supposed to be here just to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was for me.
So when you were in college, and you were redshirting, you mentioned it was fuel for you to work a little harder or practice harder.
Right.
So when people say from a sports context, because like from a business context, if you're working hard, you can put in additional hours. You can maybe use additional leverage, whether it's hiring more people or whatever the case is. But from a sports context, when you say working harder, can you kind of walk through what one day might have looked like for you?
Just working on my technique, working on the way I tackle, working on the way I drop in the coverage, things of that nature, things that basically game situational things, in a game, if I'm running at a guy, how will I tackle him? Will I bring my feet with me, meaning I'm running through the guy, or will I just lunge and let my feet just die and fall and try to hold on to him and he runs through a arm tackle? Things of that nature that when I'm in a game, that I'm truly working on in a game, I make sure that I'm the best that I can be in that moment.
This episode is brought to you by Storyboard Living. We're actively buying apartment communities in the St. Louis region, Southern Illinois, and Southern Missouri. We make transactions easy, and we've never gone under contract on an acquisition that we didn't close. We also offer a finder's fee and broker's bonus for off-market deals. If you have a property that may be a good fit for us, email deals@storyboardliving.com. That's deals@storyboardliving.com. You had an amazing college career. You're in the College Football Hall of Fame,
right?
The St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, and the Illinois Athletics Hall of Fame,
right?
Do you want to speak to any highlights that maybe stand out during your college career? And then what I'd really like to get into is like when you kind of knew that you were going to make the NFL. Like I feel like maybe going in as a young athlete, you always had that in your head. But when did you truly know that, hey, this is something I can do or am going to do?
Well, I think I truly knew, and it might sound cliche or funny, but I truly thought I knew it when I was in the fourth grade. Because in the fourth grade is when I started saying, I was in my math, I think it was my math class, Mr. Branch's class. And that's when I started, I had a piece of paper and started saying this was going to be my autograph when I make it to the NFL. So that for me was like, I'm telling myself what I'm going to do, and I know what I want to do and live the dream and the lifestyle I want to live. So for me, it was in fourth grade. That's when I knew that I was going to be a professional football player. And like I said, I started, doing everything. I watch, obviously, you watch who you want to be or want to be like. So I watch football constantly, and I saw guys that I wanted to be like and how I wanted to portray myself. So it's never you; it's always everybody taking a little bit of somebody and making it into themselves. Kind of like when you had Play-Doh, you molded into what you wanted to be. So I took a little bit of him, and him, and that's how I became Dana Howard. So that's how I truly felt that I was going to be a professional athlete. So, whatever I took from somebody else and made it my own.
You achieved a lot in your college career. So what were some of the maybe proudest moments you had when you were in college in terms of some of the accolades or maybe the wins?
Well, some were, my 4 years at Illinois, 5 years, I should say. 4 of the 5, we beat Ohio State, four out of the 5 years. My junior year, we went to Michigan and beat Michigan at Michigan. So those were some of the highlights, along with just, playing with my guys. I mean, playing with everybody from the University of Illinois from my freshman year to my senior year. Building relationships, lifelong relationships and bonds that to this day I still have, and knowing that at the University of Illinois, I didn't, a lot of guys that were there, they weren't 4-star, they weren't 5-star guys. I was probably one of the only 5-star guys there. But helping my guys to have the mentality that I had, or that I'm not losing, regardless of who we're playing, I'm not losing. Now we didn't win everything, but the guys that I played with, they came into their own. and they became, some really good guys and some guys that, I'll play with again or in another lifetime or wherever I am. Because those guys, we fought together and we battled together and we came out to be a pretty good team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you say 5-star versus 4-star, what does that mean exactly in this context?
Well, so in sports nowadays, they try to rank the kids at decent, best, better, great type deal. So they had me like I was like one of the greatest. I won't say greatest. One of the best college prospects. So 5 stars, like you got to have them. And so I guess I was a got to have them type of guy. So I had, like I said, I had a lot of college offers from pretty much every school around the country. And for the University of Illinois, we don't normally get guys of my caliber. And so I went there. So, for them at the time, that was like a huge get. And, so I won't say I helped change the program. It wasn't just me. It was me along with other guys. But, I know my mentality was a lot different than a lot of those guys' mentality. I know that just because of who I am. And I think like I alluded to earlier, I think me having my mentality coming from a winning high school program helped me to let these guys understand that, I don't lose. We don't lose. Whatever we have to do to win, that's what we're gonna do. But we don't lose. So that's how I've always felt in high school because we didn't lose. And so I think that I brought a lot of that winning attitude to the University of Illinois with my guys. So I think that's one thing that helped me tremendously by bringing that as a supposedly 5-star kid who just didn't realize what that really meant. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just knew I played football. I didn't care about number 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. I was just a ball player from East St. Louis,
So you were focused on the next move every single time versus the bigger picture for the most part. Like you were going brick by brick, not necessarily looking at the wall, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, well, I guess a little bit of both because, in the 4th grade, I'd already known it was there. I just need to go get it. So, and like I said, I just had to take a little bit of him, and mold it together and make it me. And that's from 4th grade to 12th grade to college. So during that time, I'm always, building myself, trying to make myself bigger, molding myself and understanding what it is that Dana Howard needs to do in order to be the Dana Howard. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's just how my mentality was. It was just, I got to be better. How do I get to be better? What do I need to do? And, it wasn't just athletics, but academically as well, because I didn't want to be just another student athlete. I wanted to be a guy that graduated from school. I graduated in 4 years. My 5th year, I was in graduate school. Unfortunately, I got a job where I didn't finish graduate school. I was drafted into the NFL. So it was like
good problem to have.
Good problem to have. You know what I'm saying? So you're just one of those type of deals where I just wanted to be one of the best at what I did. So that was me.
When did the NFL team start calling or knocking?
My senior year. I was my junior year really, but my senior year, I felt like I felt like I needed to stay one more year because I could have left my junior year, but I didn't. And I stayed, and that's when I got all the other accolades, winning these awards and being on these All-American teams, the Bob Hope Show, et cetera, et cetera. So those things were really cool. Really, those are some of the things that you remember the rest of your life. And, at home, I have a lot of those picture statues and trophies that those accolades that I won my junior and senior year. So that's when the NFL came knocking, and I got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the 5th round. I dropped. I don't know what happened, but I dropped from a 1st round to 5th round, but it was what it was, It's all in God's plan, so it is what it is. I didn't bitch complain. I just, went out and got after it. And I played out a 5-year career. Wouldn't change it for nothing in the world. I'm in a situation where I'm in now. I'm, have my own business, myself and my partner, and trying to make it happen. It is what it is.
So you got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Was that your moment where your thoughts from the fourth grade and everything came together and you felt like you truly made it? Or was that like, hey, now I need to start working even harder?
Well, yeah, I mean, I made it to where I thought I could get to, but in order to take it to another level, definitely, I got to work harder. So I went in there and I played my ass off and tried to do what I had to do. And fortunately, I was able to, stay there. And then, I got released and came to St. Louis, played the first 2 years here with the Rams. Played, after that, they released me. I played 2 years with the Bears. Ended up going to Amsterdam. What was that? That was the NFL Europe, I should say. Played with the Amsterdam Admirals for like a season. And from there, the Philadelphia Eagles picked me up, played with them. They released me. And from there, it was like, hey, I've done everything that I want to do in my life. Now it's time to do life after football. And from there, I just went into, found a job becoming a financial advisor. I did that for about 15 years with Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch. And from there, I, got kind of talked into, telling me, hey, you'd be a great minority contractor. I was like, I know a little bit about it. And so here I am, a minority contractor a construction owner, truck owner. I own a construction company as well as a trucking company. I use both for the trucks for my construction company, really. But sometimes we, use our trucks for other entities if they ask if the trucks aren't doing anything in a way to make extra income. And, it's been pretty good, and it's one of those where, you have your ups and your downs, just like football. You're not always the best team, and sometimes you lose. And for me or for people like me, they understand that when you lose in football as well as in life, you learn from your losses. So in sports and in real life and in business, I've had some losses. And, hey, we're trying to bounce back from them. I mean, everything's not, gravy. Everybody don't make millions off the bat, as you well know. But, we're in the process of, understanding why we lost whatever we lost when we lost it. But not only understanding that, but learning from those losses and understanding that, okay, the next time we go out and do XYZ job, this is what we need to do in order to make sure that we become profitable or win that win mentality with that particular job or that company.
How do you stay motivated, like whether it's from a loss? Because I feel like people can become demotivated when they have a loss or a setback or when they reach success and maybe they get comfortable. So how do you stay motivated in your life? Like once you made the NFL, how did you stay motivated? Once you started your company and you had success, how did you stay motivated to keep pushing?
Well, because I don't have a ceiling. I just look at it like there's no ceiling. I mean, because if you have a ceiling, I mean, once you hit the ceiling, then now what? Like they say, when you make your first million, then now what? So, I mean, I don't have a ceiling. I'm trying to go. I'm trying to get to where I want to be. Where that is, I have no clue. But I'm sure I'm going to get there sooner or later, but I'm going to get there. I just try to take it from an athletic mentality that, again, yeah, I've had a lot of tackles. I'm the all-time Big Ten leader in tackles, but at the same time, I still want to do more. So I can't get complacent and feel like, I've arrived. Because when you feel like you've arrived, that's when you start going down, kind of going down the hill. Because at that point, like I told you earlier, I had a coach that always said, whether you're either getting better or getting worse, you never stay the same. So such as life, such as sports. I mean, in business, I'm either getting better or getting worse. I'm never going to stay the same. So my goal and my mentality is I need to always try to get better. Although I may, not do so well on this job, essentially, i.e. a loss. It's the same as football. I got to learn from that loss. And once I learn from that loss, that's better for me because, somebody who's always winning when they fail, they won't know how to handle it. They go into a downward spiral like you said. Prime example, it was a couple in New York that, came from money. And there was a downturn. They were basically probably broke, probably only had $1 million left, but they were living on Fifth Avenue in New York. I'm sure you've been to New York many times, and you know what Fifth Avenue looks like. I mean, the real estate is ridiculous. So they jumped out of the window together because they weren't used to losing. Whereas a guy like me, I'm from East St. Louis. I've been losing all my life. So I ain't got a problem going back to where I started and making it all over again because I understand what it takes from hard work because I came from nothing. So, each time I take a step up, I'm winning. So, if I had to take a step back, because it's going to happen in life, nobody's going to win forever. Every now and then you take 3 steps up and 4 steps back. So you just got to understand that just because you're moving back don't mean you can't keep making it. So you got to keep on keeping on. So that's my mentality. You're going to lose, but you got to lose to win in life. So
my understanding of everything you just said is you want to measure success based on many years, not just on a daily basis.
Right.
So as long as you're ahead 5 years from now, who cares if you have a setback 1 month from now?
Right.
And also, you want to consistently get better on that daily basis, though, or that monthly basis.
Yep. I mean, that's, again, life is indicative of sports. So, everybody's going to lose. You don't know when, where, or how, but you're going to take a loss. But you got, again, in life and in sports, you got to lose to win. You got to understand how to lose to understand how to win. Because, there are a lot of sore winners, but once they lose, they're the worst because they're not used to. They don't understand it. Don't get me wrong. I hate losing. I hate losing like the best ever. But at the same time, I'm there where I understand that it's you can get something great out of a loss. It's something that you can understand how to be better by a loss. And so I've been there in sports, and I've been there in life, essentially business. So I'm at the point now. I just I take every loss as a I guess and kind of put it in my toolbox. So when I come back and retool up to go for that W, I understand now. I understand what mistake not to make, and I understand how I made the last mistake. So now when I win, I don't have to boast, brag, just stay humble about it and keep it moving.
Did you take a lot of what you learned from coaches, mentors to into account when you kind of formulated your leadership in your company? Like the way you lead your teams, is that similar to how a coach leads a football team at all? Like motivation, structure, anything like that? Are there parallels there?
Yeah, I think anybody who's a business owner, he's a leader. He's a captain of his team. So he has to motivate his troops or guys or people or employees, and he has to get the best out of all of them because, if not, he's going to, his team's going to be, one of the worst teams or businesses there is. So if you're not motivating your people or trying to get your people to get better or get better people, then you're going to be in the L column, which is a loss. So when you get better people and motivate the people, you get some W's, you get some wins, you get some money. So for me, every day is constantly trying to see where I can get better at, because if you're getting better or getting worse, you never staying the same. That's in life and in business. So, I mean, again, it's all co-mingles.
And you have teams, I think, all over the state, both in Illinois and Missouri, depending on the projects you guys are working on.
Right.
How do you make sure that the team as a whole is maybe working as one unit, although they're kind of split up? Do you have any tips for anyone who's maybe in a similar situation with their company?
Well, again, for us, it's just making sure we have good team members, good players, I should say, either one or two, and guys who have our mentality, myself and my partner. And if they aren't where we need them to be, we either have to help them get there or let them understand that, we need to go in a different direction. So, I mean, it's, that's such as life now. I mean, it's, at this point, it's, about, for me, winning, because winning means more money. losing means I'm not getting more money. So therefore, it should be understood that, hey, at this point in life, I mean, we're friends and we're cool. We laugh, we have a drink, we eat lunch together. But if we're not winning and you're not helping me win, then I mean, we have to go in a different direction, and maybe you need to do something different because this isn't working for you. Make sense?
Yeah, that does. I like that a lot because you want to keep people around you that are helping you get better every single day. You don't want people working against you. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You guys do infrastructure work for the most part, right?
Pretty much,
that's the chunk of your business.
Yes.
How did you learn that type of work, or did you ever learn that type of work? Did you instead put the right people in place, or did you have mentors that kind of taught you how that work should be performed, and then you built your company?
A little bit of both. My partner has a 30-plus year background in that particular area, and I've been kind of doing it for about 15-plus years. I'll never beat him in his knowledge, so we got together. I was fortunate to get a guy such as him because he helps me get better in certain areas, and I help him get better in certain areas because not many people know everything. And I don't claim to know everything, but I got a guy who, he helps the company help us because, he's my partner. He helps us to get better in certain areas. And the things that I don't know, I step back and let him handle. Well, not don't know, but don't know as much as he does. And the things that I'm good at, he steps back and let me, kind of quarterback it. So with that being said, it's one of those where, it's still a team. I need my team around me, a team that's going to help us get better. And I think he and I complement each other in that aspect that, we understand, and we say it all the time that, because again, we've lost, and ain't no secret. I mean, we've had some losses, and we've had a lot of wins, but we want to have more wins than we have losses. So we always strategize daily, like, what's the game plan? Let's huddle up. Let's get together. Everything we do is, verbiage from sports. Let's, home runs, singles, doubles, triples. Everything we need some threes. But we don't need missed shots, and we don't need strikeouts. And we don't need broken tackles. We need touchdowns. We need to score. We need to win. So we use that terminology every day that we get together and talk about our how to strategize on a job, or how to figure out who needs to pay us to get our money so we can make sure this gets paid, insurance gets paid, et cetera, so we don't have to come out of our pockets.
Yeah. I love the sports analogies. I think that's a great way to motivate a team.
Right.
I know you're busy. You have a lot going on. Before we wrap up, there's one or two things I'd like to touch on.
Okay.
Every time I see you, I do love that you always have kind of a new idea you're working on.
Right.
I think that's indicative of the fact that you're always trying to get better.
Mm-hmm.
For the listeners or the viewers, we try to end every show with what we're calling a hole-in-one, just the single most important thing that they can do today to improve their situation or continue improving their situation on their path to be a Dana Howard one day. So what would your single biggest piece of advice be for someone?
Well, I hit my kids with this, and my teacher, Mr. Ron Woods, he passed way back probably about 15 years ago, but he always hit all of us with this. He had two things on his wall, and I never forget, and I keep it in my daily life, and people who know him know what I'm about to say. On his wall, it was a lady in tears, and we really didn't know what it was, and he always explained it to us. He said, "I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet." And that essentially means be thankful for what you have, because it could be worse. So that's motivation by itself. And the other one was, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I hit my daughter with that all the time. And she understands that if I think I'm great, I'm great. If I think I'm not, I'm not. So I'd rather take the positive versus the negative. I know I'm great. So be great today. I know I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. So take that with you and motivate yourself, because, I think Deion Sanders said it best. God made me, so I'm in control of me. People going to talk about you to the day you die. So don't worry about what they talking about. Keep pushing. Don't worry about them, screaming at you. Keep pushing. Don't worry about them trying to ridicule you. Keep pushing because you got to live your life. They don't.
I love it. I'm going to use some of that today. It's still pretty early. I know people watching may not know how early it is,
Right.
But we're very much starting our day today. So
No doubt.
That's a great way to start the day.
Yeah.
One last thing. How can people learn more about your company or yourself if they're inclined to do so?
They can just email me. It's D as in Dana, Howard, HOWARD, at ZADELLC.com. And if they want to reach me, talk business or just to talk, they can hit me there and we can converse from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Dana, appreciate your time.
No problem, Raj. Thanks, man. Thanks for having
me. If you're a high-quality company interested in reaching the high-performing audience of Country Club Conversations, let's see how we can work together. To explore sponsorship opportunities, email advertising@storyboardliving.com. That's advertising@storyboardliving.com.